That intro is so much fun. It's, the last intro or the original intro that producer Chris put together is good, but this new intro is popping. That started on episode 100, which was just a handful of episodes ago. Hello, I am Ben McClure, your host for today's episode of Lancaster Connects, which is produced within the four walls here of Gardner's Mattress and More in beautiful Lancaster County. Lancaster Connects is a show that features great things going on in Lancaster County, great people doing great things for the community, typically through the lens of a small business or nonprofit or charitable organization. And we're so happy to have a great guest on today. And this show, we'll get to the guest in a moment. This show can be watched on live. Of course, we go live on Mondays at 2:00, every Monday at 2:00. We have a show. And, of course, you can catch past episodes either on our YouTube channel or Facebook channel, for Lancaster Connects or Gardner's Mattress and More. If you navigate to those pages, you'll see, this episode either live or past episodes if you scroll down through the feeds. Also, LancasterConnects.com is our website. And at the top of the page, as most websites have tabs that you can click on. You can see a tab for episodes, all past 100 plus episodes. I think we're on episode 102 or 103 right now. I was away last week, so I'm coming out of vacation mode. So you can check out all the past episodes on the Lancaster Connects website. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, number 104, thank you, Chris. Appreciate your push there for the episode number. If you want to be a guest on this show, again, we love to feature unique stories, stories of people doing great things in Lancaster County. That could be a small business, it could be a nonprofit or charitable organization, or just somebody that is doing great things in Lancaster. Fill out the form at lancasterconnects.com/guest. That'll go to us, and we'll send it to the PR department, who is booking guests now for us and helping us to put this show together. We have been working with somebody, as I mentioned. Her name is Stephanie, and she is leveling up. Not that we'd had poor guests in the past. We've had fantastic guests, but she's helping us book bigger guests. And one of those is on the show today. We'll bring him on in just a moment. You notice I'm flying solo today. Thank you to Jeff, partner in crime here at Gardner's and Lancaster Connects. I was on vacation last week, took the family down to Cape May, New Jersey. Good time, good family time. Had a little bit of rain, which isn't that conducive to beach going, but got some good beach time in, got some good indoor rainy day activity time in with the family. But it's Jeff's turn now. Jeff is on vacation. He and his wife, Stephanie, took a nice little road trip out to a quiet part of West Virginia. So they're traveling the West Virginia countryside and enjoying a nice week away. So safe travels to him, and I hope they have a great time. Very well deserved. So as you know, if you've been paying attention to Lancaster Connects and you've watched the past handful of episodes, we had a really famous guest on for our 100th episode. Super cool. Bret Michaels from Poison. Of course, Bret Michaels from everything else that Bret Michaels has done. He was on Celebrity Apprentice. He had his own couple reality shows, on some of those, random reality show network TVs, channels. And, he's just kind of everywhere. And he was gracious enough to grant us an interview. He was our interview for our 100th show a few weeks ago. And he also was very gracious. He and his team, he's got an upcoming concert coming up in Central PA at the Grantville. It's the Hollywood Casino at Penn National in Grantville. And that's August 26th. It's kind of a homecoming for him. He grew up in the Central PA area, and it's his homecoming concert. It's Party Gras, a number of different big acts, along with Bret Michaels performing at that concert. And he gave us 20 sets of tickets to give away to veterans and hometown heroes. Hometown hero is defined as police, EMT, EMS, fire, teachers, nurses, doctors, that sort of thing. and of course, veteran. So we have 10 sets of tickets to give away to veterans, 10 sets of tickets to give away to hometown heroes. And then also it's a nomination contest, and Chris has the scroll going there on the actual contest pages. The idea is if you know somebody that's a veteran or a hometown hero, or are a veteran or hometown hero, you can nominate yourself. You can nominate a veteran or a hero. Basically, you just go to the contest pages, lancasterconnects.com/contest. Scroll down, click either the veteran or the hero button. You'll land on this page here. You'll see all the previous entries. All you do is enter basic information, name and email, and then you submit a photo. And it's a photo nomination contest. The idea is your entry, just doing that much, gets you into the contest that we will draw winners for. At the end of today's show, we're giving away 4 sets of tickets, 2 to veterans, 2 to heroes. But then the nomination part of it, what you want to do is share your photo of your veteran or your hero, because the most votes you see on the screen there, those hearts, we have some photos with 100 or more votes on them. There's a few right there on the screen. The photo with the most votes, the veteran photo and the hero photo with the most votes total, will be the winner of a VIP package to meet Bret Michaels and potentially even be on stage with Bret Michaels to be recognized either for their service to being a hero or a veteran. So pretty cool meet and greet opportunity. Not only do you get tickets with that VIP experience, you get to meet Bret Michaels and maybe some other performers there. So really, really cool. At the end of today's show, we're just going to give away 2 sets of tickets, not the VIP. The VIP contest runs through the middle of August. I think it's August 14th. But every show through the 7th of August, we will give away 4 sets of tickets at the end of the show. So if you have entered the contest and you're watching now, we'll do that towards the 3:00 hour. So hang around for our guest interview here. We'll bring our guest on for just a moment, but at the end of the show, we'll give away those tickets and reach out to the winners there. So I think that's the stuff that we needed to get out of the way for the beginning. Let's bring our guest on. We've got with us today Matt Neff of Sight and Sound Ministries and Sight and Sound Theater right here in Lancaster County. Matt, welcome.
Thank you, Ben. It's an honor to be with you, and fun hanging out today, even though missing out on Jeff. I hope he's having a great time in West Virginia. Beautiful country down there.
Yeah. I mean, you're stuck with me. It's, it's second rate, hosting, but that's, you'll be fine. It will be fine.
Problem. No, honor to be with you. Love what you're doing.
Yeah. Same. So, icebreaker question. Are you a Lancaster native, and how, if so, how long, if not, how long? And, just tell us about your Lancaster roots.
Yeah. So my roots run pretty deep. I am a Lancaster native all of my 46 and a half years. Really, actually, about 6 minutes from Sight and Sound here, I grew up on a dairy farm, and my dad would have been the 5th generation of our family to farm that farm. So we go back a ways. And still live about 2 minutes from the theater now, and love the Strasburg area, love Lancaster County. Got so much to offer, so much to see. So a great place to raise a family.
That's awesome. Did you ever move away and come back, or it's always been right here in Lancaster?
Just briefly. I went to school in Oklahoma, to a Bible school for a season. But that was it. Other than that, I'd always lived in Lancaster County and always hoped that I do. It's just hard to beat.
I'm curious, how different was Oklahoma from Lancaster, or were there similarities?
It was a lot flatter, windier, browner.
Okay.
I couldn't wait to come home. No disrespect to Oklahoma, but I couldn't wait to be home. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, technically, I guess we're broadcasting Oklahoma, but no, I'm sure nobody's listening from Oklahoma, so you can say whatever you want about that.
They were great people, but I love Lancaster. Not going to lie.
It didn't have the lushness of Lancaster County.
No, it did not. It was different.
Very good. Very good. Well, you represent Sight and Sound. I believe you are the CEO of Sight and Sound Theaters right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. So, I think a lot of people listening, I mean, Sight and Sound is a big deal. You get people from everywhere coming into Lancaster, little old Lancaster County here to come see the productions at Sight and Sound theaters. But for those who may be tuning in that don't know what Sight and Sound is, or aren't sure what the ministry is of Sight and Sound, can you share a little bit about that with us?
I'd be honored to. Yeah, it's incredibly humbling, but what we get to do is tell stories. So at the core, we are storytellers. We're primarily known for that by telling Bible stories on stage in a very epic professional scale here at our home location in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and also our sister theater that we built out in Branson, Missouri. But in addition to that, we have more recently also started to tell story on screen. Had our first feature film in theaters last Christmas, and continuing to explore other ways that the Lord has called us to tell stories. So they're inspirational stories of hope, of redemption, of love, and of life. And we're just honored we get to tell them.
So what are some of the stories that you've told over the years? We probably can't get into each one of them, but like, you're typically taking a character from the Bible or a person from the Bible and telling that story kind of from start to finish, right?
Yes. Yeah. We'd love to go deep into not just retelling the story in sort of like a factual historical way, but really what's the story behind the story? What's the message? What's the heart of what may have been happening in that situation? So, stories anywhere from Noah and the ark and the animals, to Samson and the collapse of the temple, to Jonah being swallowed by a whale, the story of Christ, of course, the ultimate story for us. We have told that story as well multiple times. Currently, Moses would be the story we're telling here on the stage in Lancaster, which just, they're fun stories to tell and challenging because there's so many big moments, so many epic miracles that take place. So how do you tell that in a 2.5-hour narrative story as a musical and portray these effects on stage is an epic challenge, but a really fun, creative one to solve for the team here.
So let's get into that a little bit. So
sure.
I mean, I've been to Sight and Sound a handful of times. I can't remember the last show I saw, but every time I've seen a show, it just blows me away. The production, the level of production, the level of talent. You have live animals. There's just a photo of that. Like how? So I mean, there's a number of questions. Like, how does it all come together? How long does it take to put together? How many people are working on it? Like, there's so many questions. Can you dig into that a little bit?
Absolutely, happy to. Yeah, it's a crazy adventure. So our total team is about 800 folks. Now that's across both locations, right? So about 500 here in Lancaster, about 300 in Branson in Missouri. And what makes us really unique as far as a storytelling theatrical company goes is we do most everything in-house, not everything, but most. So from the writing of the script, the design of the concept work early on for a show, to the design of the sets, the engineering of the sets, then the construction of the sets, as well as the costumes. All of those things, for the most part, happen in Lancaster. Some of that is done by our shop teams in Branson as well. And it's about a 4-year process, really, when we kind of sound the gun, if you will, and assign a producer to a future story. It's pretty much down to about a 4-year science, if you will. So at any given time, we always have 2 shows in production. So right now we're working on the new show, Daniel, for next year. That'll premiere in March here in Lancaster. But we're also working on a new show for the future beyond that. So that's a fun challenge because they have overlapping phases of design, construction, development. But I just stand back and watch. I'm like, how in the world do we do this? It just doesn't make a lot of sense, naturally speaking, but it's happening. It's really, really humbling to see that, to be a part of it, to see the level of craftsmanship and passion and care for what we do, and ultimately to serve our guests. That's what's most fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun to build a show, but there's nothing like when they actually come and sit in the seats and experience. It's like, that's why we do this.
Well, and you've had an enormous impact. I mean, I just doing some research on the show, I saw like on Google, you have 25,000 5-star reviews and like a 4.9 rating. It's like to have that kind of rating and that many people like that have reviewed. It's just unbelievable.
Agreed.
So how did it get its start in Lancaster? Sure. Like why Lancaster? How did it start? Who started it?
Yeah.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So our founders, really our core founder, he and his wife that would have founded it, Glenn, Glenn was a storyteller and an artist. As a kid, he was always drawing Bible stories. And he was a farmer, dairy farmer, Mount Joy. And so grew up with this ability for arts, and then really turned into photography. So he started a portrait studio back in the late 50s. And in the 60s, someone asked him, hey, you have all these great scenic pictures of out west and mountains and things. Would you do a slideshow for a church sweetheart banquet? And at first he actually turned them down, because I think his actual answer was, I remember those boring missionary slideshows from church when I was a kid. I'm not doing that. But he thought about it a little more and had some ideas, some inspiration. I thought, well, what if I could add some voiceover narrative and some music, things that, our kids do on their iPhones now. But this was like, 1961 or 2 or something like that. And so created this show, and people loved it. Like, we haven't seen anything quite like this. And so word got out. Other churches, other groups, civic organizations were like, hey, would you show that slideshow at our place? Sure. Okay. And it just started to take off to the point where it built to having 4 teams traveling the country, doing these ever larger slideshows, finding ways to blend multiple projectors for bigger images and all of this. But it was going so fast and furious, they were starting to burn out, traveling, doing this. So in the early 70s, really driving back one night, late at night, Glenn just was praying. He's like, Lord, I can't keep doing this. Like, man, is there another way? And he felt like, had this idea come, they felt like it was the Lord just saying, why don't you have people come to you? It's like, oh, that's a good idea. So they rented the Lancaster Bible College auditorium. I believe it was the summer of 75, and sold that out. And that gave enough seed money and vision to say, wow, what if we built a theater? So our first theater was built to do big slideshows. That was the dream. That was the idea. And then over time, actors were added, which meant sisters and cousins and kids and neighbors and whoever was available. And then animals were added to it, animal actors as well. And the stories just kept getting bigger till we outgrew that original building. Built a larger theater down the street, which we then lost to a fire in the 90s, rebuilt the theater we're in today. So it's been this just little by little progression over the last really 46 years since the first theater, 47 years since the first theater opened its doors, which is just hard to believe. Yeah.
That's an unbelievable story, and how unique, like, starting from scratch, just this like projector show. And to see what it is today. Is there anybody else in the country doing something like Sight and Sound is and does?
Boy, not that we know of. I mean, I would love for others to get into it, but it's super unique. And it's daunting, to build a building of this size and scope of what we do. It's just a really unusual way to tell a story. But again, one we just grew into over time. It's not like, we set out in 76 and saw it for what it is today. Not at all.
Right.
It's just little by little, being faithful with little, and the Lord saying, okay, now be faithful with a little bit more. Okay.
Right.
No, it's pretty unusual, but that's part of what makes it a lot of fun. Cause it's like anything we're doing, it's sort of a first in a way. It's like, oh, how are we going to, have David and Goliath on stage? I don't know. Let's figure it out, and there it is.
There it is.
That's with a lot of work
awesome.
Involved, but very fun.
So you referenced Glenn, right? Glenn's, it was basically a family production. You mentioned there were, kids and cousins and,
yes,
of course, farm animals, as part of the production. But now it's, talented paid actors, right? Coming into Lancaster from probably all over the globe to perform.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, we're seeing that increasingly, even beyond the stage. It was just fun. I try to catch orientation on Mondays when I can, and just say hi. I love to meet new folks who are coming on board. So this morning I met 3 folks, and just to hear their stories, right? Like one moved here from Southern Maryland, one from Puerto Rico originally, then Philadelphia, then here, one who's commuting from Reading. And it's really humbling. You're just like, how'd you hear about us? Just to hear their stories. Well, a friend told me this, or when I was a kid, I came and I was like, I want to do that someday. So increasingly, we're seeing all different positions, people coming or applying from all over the country, which is really wild and just humbling how that works.
So they're aspiring actors or current actors, actresses, whatnot, and then they find out about Sight and Sound and feel led to come here, relocate, be part of the show. That's awesome.
Yeah. Or anything we're doing. This morning, it was customer service representative. We had an IT help desk person.
Yeah.
And a stage technician. So you just don't know.
That's true. Yeah. You said there's 500 people in the Lancaster Theater.
Yeah. Yep. So we get to do all kinds of different things, right? From whether it's welding sets or taking care of animals or designing costumes. There's a little bit of just about everything. We haven't gotten into nuclear physics yet, but I wouldn't put it past the team. We'll see.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, seeing this, seeing a picture of it and a video of it is one thing, but like being there in person and seeing the size and scope of everything, the actors that's one part of it, the talent to put it all together. But, these sets are unbelievable. The costumes, somebody's got to spend days and days and days, probably months working on that stuff.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it takes about 4 years really, from that first vision being cast. Because it's, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to tell the heart? But what's really neat where we've seen it grow, probably the most rewarding to me is I love team. Like team is the most fun way to do anything in my opinion. It's just a blast. And so when a producer's assigned to kind of carry the vision for the show from start to finish, as they're doing their homework and research and partnering with other members of the team, when they cast that vision to the creative team, the designers in particular, it's really fun to see every other person then contribute their best ideas and their best thinking. Because if the show's only as good as the producer, then okay, it might still be a great show if you have a great producer, but boy, when they can invite the team to be like, hey, like for the concept artist to envision, hey, tell me the heart you're going for. Okay, so in this scene, you want to convey this. All right. And then they're giving their best idea. It just goes to another level. And then they feed each other, right? And the lighting designer's seeing that. And he's like, oh, well, how would I convey that emotion? Boy, what if I did this? And And the costume designer's like, well, what if that's when it goes to a whole nother level. And they like to say theater is the most collaborative art form. I don't know. I would say that about storytelling in general. It just takes an army, but it's so much fun when you can get people who care less about their personal recognition and more about creating something amazing that's never been done before, lay down their egos, like that's when it just goes to another level. And thankfully, that's the team that we are blessed with here. They love each other. They love what they do. And that's fun. It's hard work.
That's awesome. Well, so I want to know what does that first night, like what does opening night feel like for you and for your team?
Oh my word.
Like, is it,
it's amazing.
It's obviously well rehearsed and everything is ready to go, but like,
ideally,
is it?
Ideally,
you don't have to share stories.
It's live, it's live entertainment. So,
yeah.
And we've had a few, like we were just talking about this the other day, when the story of Jesus premiered in 2018, at the time it would have been our most technical show we've ever done. Well, it might still be the most technical show we've done. And we had our challenges. It was a challenging rehearsal process. And, the first totally clean show we had, like clean running, smooth, everything actually worked, was opening night. So
wow.
You don't want that to be the case. You want that to be, like the last week of rehearsal, but no.
You're like crossing your fingers.
Yeah. So you're holding your breath a little bit. When he flips the table in the temple, is it actually going to flip and go into slow-mo? It actually did. Yes. So, but oh man, I'm telling you, it sounds funny, but it almost feels like winning the Super Bowl. Like when that opening night hits and it works and you see people impacted. We kind of lose our minds. It just doesn't get old because how much goes in. There's the table flip.
Oh, there it is.
Just so much work that goes into pulling it off. It's hard to even put words to what it feels like at the end of that journey, which is funny because at the beginning of the journey for the, for the cast and the crew.
Right.
But for design and the producers and story, it's the end in a sense because they got to produce other ones, right? It's the end of the next one. But no, that night is pretty hard to beat. It's pretty epic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some fist bumps and jumping up and down. And it's pretty fun.
So, as an audience member and actually watching that video, Jesus was the last show that I saw there. So I gotta get out and get to the one currently. But as an audience member, you probably like when something goes wrong on stage, as audience probably has no clue. Like they're just blown away and looking in all different directions because there's so much going on. If something goes awry, we probably don't know.
Ideally,
talk about right. So the working with live animals has to be. I mean, it's cool to see because like you don't experience that as an audience, watching a show like a Broadway show or something like that. Like maybe there's a bird on stage every once in a while on a Broadway show, but like not like horses and sheep,
right?
Everything else you have there. Can you talk about working with live animals and like the people that work with the live animals? Yeah,
I mean that team is. That team, I mean, they're the heroes, the unsung heroes, sort of the Marines, first in, last out in a sense. Because the work they do, like our whole training system is relationally based, right? So it's about time with developing relationship with our animal cast members. So that takes time. And so when there's a particular behavior we're looking for in a show, we might start working on that a year to 18 months ahead of when that's actually going to happen on stage. And so they're bonding with them. They have time to just play with the animals, just to say, hey, this is a safe relationship. And then the trainer has to work to convey that relationship to the actor who might be engaging with the animal as well, which is a whole nother fun challenge. So, for example, my son has performed in the shows, and he was, when he was David, preparing to be in the role of David, he had sheep time, right? So he had to actually literally get paid to go to the animal training facility and play with sheep. And had awesome. Told him, he's like, this is the best thing ever. Like, what? I'm getting paid to play with animals. Great. But it really reaps rewards because the animal, it's much healthier. They're enjoying what they're doing and they get to do this together. So it's pretty fun. And so it's a team that absolutely loves this member of our cast, these members of our cast. And I'm telling you, they are as consistent as any cast member on stage. Like they know the timing, the cues, the lighting shift, the music shift. A horse will know if an actor's a little off in his timing, and he'll start a little and be like, "Hey, I'm supposed to leave right now. Like, what? Why are we still here?" That's incredible. They're incredibly smart.
I was going to ask, like, has there ever been a moment where like the animal tries to steal the stage from actors and like do their own thing?
No, they're incredibly good. Probably the one thing that is occasionally a scene stealer is the fact that animals, the timing of when they go to the bathroom is not always when we would prefer that time to be. So there have been some moments, but there was one we were watching. Actually, I was out in Branson back in June. We're watching the show Queen Esther, which is on stage out there. And Haman, who's the villain of the story, and there's this moment that he has to lead Mordecai, who he's trying to have killed. He actually has to lead and parade him through the streets and celebrate him. It's a great turn of events moment in the show. And very prominent featured horse. And right center stage, the horse decides this is a great time to go to the bathroom. I mean, the audience is losing their minds because you can't hide that. And the way the cast ad-libbed and Haman stepping over it, holding his, I mean, it went to a whole nother level. So the horse kind of upstaged and it worked because the cast just rolled with it. I mean, crowd lost their minds. It was the best version of that scene I've ever seen since we've done the show. So
I'm sure.
Just never know.
I mean, poop humor, poop sells, right?
It happens, right?
It happened. There you go. Well, now we're going to gears a little bit. And your story is pretty unique at Sight Sound. You started out as a stagehand. Way back, I think mid-90s, right?
Yeah, 28 years ago, yep.
28 years. That's incredible. So the journey from stagehand to CEO, it didn't happen overnight. What was that like? What was your experience starting out there? How did you get the job there and how did you work your way through?
Yeah, grand adventure to say the least. I mean, having grown up knowing Sight and Sound, my grandma used to bring us as kids, once a year.
Yeah.
So super familiar with it, but I wasn't per se, a theater kid. I appreciated the storytelling, but I'm more a behind the scenes person. And so, at the time, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, was working here as a cast member. And so really the vision at that point was as big as like, wow, it'd be really fun to work with her. So I applied for a stage technician role to work backstage and got hired and I got hooked. I I was already in love with her, but I fell in love with what we get to do here. It was so different and so unique, and the camaraderie of doing what we get to do, the calling of it, it was like, this is so fun. So I had started as a stage tech, like I said. Then I left for Bible school for a little bit in Oklahoma and came back. And at that point, all I knew was, man, I'd love to work at Sight and Sound again. And there was an opening in the scene shop at that time that I got rehired back into. So I was building sets for a number of years and enjoyed that. I'm not a craftsman. I'm relatively handy, but I'm not a craftsman. So I learned a lot of different things and enjoyed it. I got to lead some projects, which was a lot of fun. And then our general manager at the time stopped by one day in the shop. He said, hey, so we have this supervisor position open over the stage crew. We think you should put your hat in the ring. I'm like, who, me? He's like, just go through the process we did for you. Yeah, because I wasn't thinking about that. And so prayed about it, applied, and then they offered me the job, and I was terrified. I'm like, what?
Yeah, right.
Meeting people, what? But I felt like I was supposed to move toward it, and really, really grew to love it. It was hard at first because I was young and figuring it out, but fell in love with leading the crew, and what we got to do was so fun and unique. And then just opportunities kept, same general manager a few years later is like, hey, there's this other role. I think you should put your, okay. So it was not something I was really looking for. It's not how I'm necessarily wired to put myself out there, so to speak, but definitely felt led and called step by step. So eventually got to lead human resources for a number of years, which was really a great growing experience. After that, I got to lead production for a number of years. And by then we were in a formal succession process. And so then in 2015 is when I would have shifted into this role, officially, which been a wild ride before.
What a journey.
It's a journey. Yeah. But one thing I love that we get to do is we're really big on promoting from within, right? Like you see people's gifts and talents. And we have a lot of people that are drawn here because of the mission and what we do. They're like, man, I don't know what I'd love to do someday, but I'd love to be a part of it. I mean, that was my story in a sense. And so you go somewhere where there's an opening, and then it's your gifts make room for you, as it says in Proverbs. And we see that happen all the time. So like now our current executive team, where there's 6 of us, 3 of us were hired as stage technicians originally. I love that. Of course, we like to have a saying that stage technician land is like our goal is to take over the world. So we're working at it. Like we're getting there.
There you go. There you go. You're close to a majority.
Right.
So, question for you. Have you ever been on stage?
I was briefly, for fun. I mean, I did a little bit in high school, which put me out of my comfort zone, but it was really good for me. But the only official appearance I've had on the stage here at Sight and Sound during a show was a number of years ago. We like to do this thing called 12 Days of Christmas, where we just randomly surprise employees with gifts, random drawings. It's a lot of fun. And so then we try to find unique ways to surprise them with the gift. So the idea, somebody in the cast, their name had been pulled, right? So we're like, what if we could give them their gift on stage during a show? Wouldn't that be awesome? Probably not a great idea, but so it was myself and at the time, our co-president, Josh, who's my brother-in-law, who's now our chief creative officer and president. So we're doing this together, right? So we both get costumed up, the whole deal. We entered a scene that was about as safe as we could make it, work our way through, and just the looks on people's faces in the cast, because they're doing their scene, they're doing their blocking, and they know something's off. They're like, who's this? So it was worth it, because their faces just jaw drop. And then we found the guys. Cool. We were carrying the gift. We had it, wrapped like it was period appropriate for the scene.
Right. And
we're like, here you go. Happy 12 Days of Christmas, and he's like, what is happening right now? So that was fun, but that was my only little cameo, but hopefully the audience had no idea what was going on.
And you were in costume.
Well,
you were,
of course. Yeah. Costume, wig, the whole deal. Like, right. No mic.
Awesome.
But yeah. So.
And you said your son was on stage, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. He's actually still performing. He's 12 this year, so he gets to play the son of Pharaoh and also young Aaron briefly in Moses right now. It's actually all of our kids. We have 4 children. All 4 have had stints on stage. So currently there are 2 on stage. Our second daughter, who is a full-time professional member of the cast, is on stage here. And then our youngest. So a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Fun opportunity to do that with them.
besides the gift giving on stage, your acting debut and probably finale.
Hopefully, yes, preferably for everyone. Yes.
Do you have any other highlights throughout your journey at Sight and Sound? Like, do you have a favorite show, or do you have a favorite moment that you helped to put together or saw through, or any highlights you can share with us? I mean, there are probably
a lot of them. I mean, if I picked a thematic highlight, I would say a thematic highlight is going through insane adversity as a company that we had no business surviving, whether it was the fire in 1997, whether it was when we expanded to Branson at the kickoff of the Great Recession and debt load and all the things that entailed, or COVID most recently and what that was with shutdown and all the stuff.
Yeah.
There's a theme of the impossible somehow becoming possible. So each of those have a million stories within them, but that theme is something we've realized like, that's kind of part of the journey, which kind of makes sense because what we're doing doesn't really make sense naturally speaking anyway. So to see, can I just do the impossible in spite of great odds again and again and again? We're like, okay, Lord, I guess that's our normal and you're faithful.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how you want to, what you have in store for what's next. But that would be a theme. As far as shows, people always ask, what's your favorite show? What's the best show? I'm like, that's like asking, which is your favorite child? Now, I do have one of the four who's convinced that she is the favorite, but
right.
Truth be told, there is no favorite. It's kind of the same way with the shows. I'm like, boy. Yeah. But if I had to pick, it's probably whatever the most recent one is. Just the way the team keeps taking storytelling to another level. Blows my mind. But then when one comes back, like Moses this year, which premiered in 2014, when it came back, just an opportunity for the team to look at it again and go, okay, how can we tweak a little bit? How do we bump this up? So like you would have seen Jesus, we had that really big flying LED screen as a backdrop. Well, we didn't have that when we did Moses the first time, but we have it now. So we could reuse that technology, update the show, refresh it, and it looks fantastic. So
that's cool.
I don't know. I like them all.
Yeah. So that's a good point. If you saw Moses a handful of years ago, you should come back and see it again because it's obviously going to be similar story, but different.
Right. The miracles will still happen. Spoiler alert. See,
you're not rearranging the story.
Right. No. If you're familiar with the story, don't worry. But no, it's always an opportunity to make it fresh, make it, just new again, if that makes sense.
That's fun. Cool.
Yeah.
So I noticed Sight and Sound TV. What is that? And you also mentioned in the intro that you had a film.
Yes.
What was that, and where people see it, and tell us about it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, I think it was in 2018. We were doing a deep dive into like what is it we do? Like we know we're storytellers, but the core of it. So we're on this adventure. And as we went down that kind of rabbit hole of digging deeper into our core, really a question came to mind, which is like, is that all we're called to do? Is that the only way we're called to tell a story? Really, which is primarily on stage, has been historically, as well as through a conservatory that we have to train performers in the arts. So we're like, are those the two things only, or is there more? And we felt very clearly like the Lord put in our hearts, no, there's another way to tell a story that you're called to, and that is through screen, through films. And so we began that journey. We had launched into making a first film, learning by doing. So we're ready to kick that off. This is now the end of 2019. And we're gearing up to like go for it in 2020 as far as producing this film.
It's a great time to
do something new, right? And then, of course, March of 2020, what was supposed to be opening day for Queen Esther became our first day of closure. We're like, now what?
So many stories like that.
Oh my word, right? And all the investment you make in a new show, which is significant, all those things, and then nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember, here's what's wild, right? Like, so that Thursday was the day, the Thursday before we opened was the day that the governor asked like all large venues to close, that kind of thing. And so we're scrambling as a team and praying and decided, yes, we're going to honor that. And so reaching, our contact centers, calling guests and doing all this stuff. And you don't know, is this 2 weeks? Is this a month? What is this? Long, crazy day. Anyway, so I wake up the next day, Friday morning. I'm just praying, I'm laying in bed, and the Lord was reminding me of story after story of our past, of his faithfulness, right? Where he did the miraculous, like the fire I mentioned, and recovering from debt load and Brants and all those things. Anyway, but not just that he was faithful. The fact that each time he used those challenges to take us from where we were to where we were supposed to be next. And I was like, whoa. So I came to work with this energized, like, okay, how are you going to use this to take us to what's next? And at the same time, so I'm excited, right? So I run into my brother-in-law, Josh. We, lead together. I'm telling him this. I'm like, dude, this is what I woke up with. This is so cool. He's like, no way. He's like, what I woke up with this overwhelming question of, if people can't come to us, how do we go to them? How do we reach them at home? What does that look like? And that led a series of conversations that accelerated. We had wanted to move towards a streaming service, a streaming platform. But we thought it was a little ways away yet. And so at that point, we're like, you know what? Let's move towards it now. So that fall, we were able to launch Sight Sound TV on an accelerated time frame, which is just blown up, which is really cool. Just hearing stories from I think we have people in 175 different countries who've tuned in through the app or through online, sight-sound.tv. Either way, you can access it and just see content, right? You can rent content, you can buy a subscription, whatever you want to do. And the stories have just been mind-blowing from places I didn't even know were countries. Right. I'm here, in the Isle of Man, and we're tuned in and we're watching Samson. This is really cool. It just blows me away. But it's just another avenue, another vehicle. Or almost, we could call it a virtual location, right? We have Lancaster, Branson, and the virtual location. Just gives it away for people who can't physically maybe come, or not, easy to come physically to these two locations. So that was happening kind of in concert then with still working on the film. And the film was called, there you can see shots of it. Yeah, it's called I Heard the Bells. So it was based on a true unknown backstory behind Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and really what went on in his life and what really led to him writing the poem, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, which of course became a famous Christmas carol eventually. But there was a crazy redemptive story behind that most people didn't know about. And it was one that we kind of stumbled on and just felt like, wow, this feels like a story we're supposed to tell, especially as a first effort, a first launch into filmmaking. So we started the project as a short film. And then, as we got into it, it was like, there's a lot of great content and story here. This is either going to be a really long short film or a really short feature. What if we invest a little more and make it actual feature length production? So I'm really glad we decided to do that and then had the opportunity to release it to movie theaters last December. It's far better than we could have imagined. I mean, our original commitment was like a 3-day release, right? Like a limited engagement. It did well enough that theaters are like picking it up and extending it. And sheesh, I think Penn Cinema ran it into like late January. It was wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's super so humbling. Cool. So that was like, okay, Lord, here we go. Like, all right, we're going to tell these stories on film too.
Now, where did you film these, the content?
Yeah, mostly in Lancaster. Almost all of it was in Lancaster County.
That's awesome.
A little bit in Gettysburg, a little bit here and there, but almost entirely in the county, and a lot of it on our property, like just literally through the fields from the theater. Some farmland that we had felt that we should buy back in 2019, and ended up being a great space to shoot on, very flexible space. And then an old tobacco barn that we've had for a long time, adjacent to where actually I live. And in that, it turned out to be a great space for kind of, what do you want to call it? A on-set production. So we built like Henry's bedroom inside that barn and his hallway and things like that we were able to film right there, which is really fun. And just some awesome, so cool. Like Landis Valley was great to work with. They're awesome what they got going over there. Moonstone Manor up in E-Town, beautiful property. That became their mansion, their home, the Longfellow homes, things like that just, it's fun. And new ways to meet new people in the county, which is like, I wouldn't have thought filmmaking was the way to do that. But here you go. Met some great people in the last 2 years. It's awesome.
I mean, kudos to you and your team. I mean, that's just awesome to be able to, I mean, yeah, you have this like tragedy of not being able to put on a show that you worked 4 years to put together in March of 2020, then to be able to pivot and not only come back stronger probably than ever with your live shows, but then to do this movie thing too. That's super, super cool.
Well, I love Josh, who I mentioned, who I get to work with. I love what he says. Like, creativity is nothing more than problem solving. That's really all it is. So he's like, as a creative, he's like, we don't shy away from problems. He's like, tell us the problem so we can come up with solutions. Like, that's what's fun. And it's really all it is. Just some problems look a little insurmountable than others. But
great way to look at it. So, we'll wrap up our time here. Sight and Sound, anything, well, I think you said what your next show is. Maybe you could tell us that again.
Sure.
But anything else you can share that, Sight and Sound is doing beyond 2023?
Oh man. So Story of Daniel, will be premiering here at Lancaster next March. I believe March 16th is when that opens. So, that one's been epic. Well, they're all epic, but that one's taken a lot of work, a lot of work.
Okay.
Some are harder to create than others. And this is one of those. I think because it's such a big scope story and we feel like it's such a needed message for today. Very, very profound message. So
get that.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. I can't wait. This is a biggie. It's all new from scratch. It's a story we've told in the past, but we started fresh with this one. Just felt like it was time for a retelling of it from scratch.
Are those real lions?
No, I can say that we will not have real lions. There's enough things to have to. Yeah, we're not decided not to go there, and our donkeys and our goats are very grateful. We have not gone there.
Okay, all right.
We have had a water buffalo in the past. If Dan was still here in Lancaster, he would not want any lions near. So
gotcha.
No, but you will see lions. It might not be living lions.
There. Well, we won't share too many secrets here.
Part of the challenge of the team.
Yeah. So last question about Sight and Sound, and then we'll do our connection cocktail. How can the Lancaster community support Sight and Sound? Obviously, we can attend. We can see a show. We can watch your film. But how else can the community support?
Well, I mean, what's so cool is Lancaster community already just so does support. Like, it blows us away that we get to host anywhere from 8 to almost 900,000 guests a year to come see these shows. And we don't take that lightly. It's like, man, that's a responsibility, right? So in most cases, these are people that are traveling into Lancaster. And so we love the way the community supports great places to stay, great places to eat, great places to shop, other great attractions that they get to check out. So we have been incredibly supported by this community and saying like, hey, Lancaster's got so much to see and offer, and they're not just coming to, hear these amazing Bible stories. Like, they love getting out and about. So that's probably the best way that I would say Lancaster is already supporting, creating this incredible atmosphere that people want to see, they want to experience it, whether they're coming from New York City or Baltimore or Philly or, DC or wherever. We got something special here, and it's really an honor to get to share it with. We love when our local fans and fan base come out and see a show or see a film when it's in the movie theater. It's awesome. And we're just grateful for the way that they create the atmosphere that make Lancaster what it is, this incredibly special place to literally get to share with the world.
Yeah, that it is. Yeah. I mean, you're so right. If somebody's driving 3-4 hours from New York, Maryland, Delaware, wherever, they're probably not seeing the show and going home.
Right.
If they're going to stay over a night or two. And there's plenty of other things to do in Lancaster County, especially right around where you are there at Sight and Sound. But then, Lancaster County, and beyond. So, so cool. Thank you so much for sharing, about Sight and Sound, the mission of Sight and Sound and everything that you're doing there. I mean, I could probably talk to you for hours about like how you do this and that, but, within the show, but we don't have that kind of time. So we will transition into the connection cocktail. You ready to get personal?
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go. What's one surprising fact that people might not know about you?
Oh boy, one surprising fact. I love off-roading, like dirt bike, four-wheeler, like fast, aggressive, mud flying. That's favorite thing to do. Outside of what
from
I
a
get
kid?
to do. Yep. Probably growing up a farm, stealing my dad's moped at like 6. Yeah. I just love it. But it's just,
that's awesome.
Serious adrenaline rush.
Do you have a favorite family activity?
It's really probably that. Like we love riding together and we love doing anything outside, hiking, all that kind of stuff, which again, Lancaster's such a great place, but for all that. But that's probably our favorite. Headed to the mountains and go tear it up, get dusty, get muddy.
There you go.
We love doing that together.
Now, typically I wouldn't allow a guest to have the same answer for 2 questions in a row, but I'll allow it.
Oh, thank you. Very gracious.
So last question. This is a tough one. We're asking one word. Describe Lancaster in one word. Can you do it?
Oh my word.
Maybe you could do a couple words.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you know what? If I had to nail it to one word, I would say fruitful.
Okay.
And for context, I mean, not just obviously we got great soil and all that stuff, and that's cool. That's awesome, but spiritually fruitful, and just relationally fruitful. It's my friend Roger North likes to call this the land of small business, and he's not wrong. Like there is such a spirit of fruitfulness that comes out of this place, this land. It's remarkable in every way. And just the diverse ways that we get to create and design and build and grow and do all those things. Not just Sight Sound. I mean, us as Lancaster County, it's really unusual. You go to other parts of the country, it's something special. So it's a long way to answer it, but fruitful is the word.
No, that's a fantastic word. Betsy from Acorn Acres just chimed in here and said that was a great word.
Oh, nice.
You got her attention with it.
Love it.
That's awesome. That's
We're
awesome.
Blessed.
Well, Matt, this has been so great. Thank you so much for being a guest on Lancaster Connects. Thanks for sharing the story, all the stories, and of Sight and Sound Ministries and theater and all this, talking about the stories that you tell there. Your website, sight-sound.com. Say the website.
Sight-sound.com. You got it. Yep. Yeah.
And you can purchase tickets on there for a show and do the Sight and Sound TV right there on the website. That would be the place for everybody to go. That's awesome.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a blast.
Have a great rest of your afternoon.
You as well.
We'll talk later. Yep. Well, that was great. If you're listening and you're within distance of driving distance of Sight and Sound theaters here in Lancaster, it is well worth your investment in time and money to go see a show at Sight and Sound. I remember my grandparents used to get all the grandkids tickets to Sight and Sound, and we'd go every handful of years. So I've seen numerous shows there over the years, and it's just continue to be blown away by like I said earlier, just the production, the quality of the production, the quality of the talent, the animals. You wonder, like, you walk away from a show like, how did they possibly pull a 2.5 hour show off? Because it's just unbelievable. And, like Matt said, there's 500 people working, on the scenes and behind the scenes, to put together that production. And it's unbelievable. Nothing else out there like it. So yeah, go check out a show. All right. So, going to wrap up our time here. We have people anxiously awaiting for our contest giveaway. I think, producer Chris from Cast Ahead, has the prize wheels ready. Again, we're giving away tickets to the Bret Michaels Party Gras at the Hollywood Casino at Penn National, Raceway in, Grantville, PA. August 26th is the show. We're giving away 2 sets of tickets to Heroes today. That's the first wheel that we got up here. Our hero entries is kind of small. We'd love to see more heroes, be entered, be nominated. Again, to nominate somebody, just go to lancasterconnects.com/contest, and you'll see the button for heroes and the button for veterans. Again, we're giving away 2 sets of tickets for each heroes and veterans, each podcast episode that we do through the first week of August. And then we have the VIP nomination contest, which will wrap up the following week. So get your entries in, get your votes in, vote for your favorite veteran and heroes, because those will be our VIP winners. So, Chris, go ahead. You can spin the heroes. This is the first set of tickets for hero today. Looks like we got Kathy Barber. And of course, we'll be reaching out to the winners here within the next couple of days here via email. We'll collect a little bit more information that we will then pass along to the venue, the ticket folks. We don't handle the tickets. We just pass the information along, and they handle getting the tickets to you. And that'll happen within the next few weeks. Give it another spin. Here we go. Our second hero winner today is going to be Jeff Heft. Again, thank you, Jeff, for entering and nominating a hero. I hope you guys have a great time at the concert. So here are two, our veteran giveaway. We've got 2 sets of tickets to give away to a veteran. Decidedly more entries on our veteran contest page. Let's see. Man, I'm glad I wore my glasses. Dan Ella, there we go. You're our first winner for the veteran giveaway, and we'll spin again for a second winner. Again, we have more sets of tickets to give away. So if you don't win today, you're not, out of the contest or anything like that. Pull more next week and the following week as well. Looks like we got Sandra Dock, is our second veteran ticket winner. So again, everybody, those 4 that, won tickets, we will be in contact within the next couple days, collect some information from you, and we'll get that to the, ticket folks at, Hollywood Casino. So again, LancasterConnects.com/contest is how you can get into the contest. Super easy to do, and no purchase necessary. There's no obligation to do anything other than enter the contest and nominate your veteran or hero. Pretty simple. Well, that was a great show. We've got a great run of shows coming up here. Lots of great guests coming up. I will be flying solo again next week. Jeff is going to be at a trade show next week. So if you want some Ben shenanigans, you got it next week. But that's going to be the wrap on today's show. Thanks for watching. And again, go to LancasterConnects.com. If you want to be a guest, if you want to watch past episodes, you can check us out also on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channels, Lancaster Connects and Gardner's Mattress and More. That's where past episodes live as well. Appreciate you and Lancaster so much. So until the next connection,